In the distant future, human beings built moving fortress cities called plantations on the devastated Earth and enjoyed civilization. In one such plantation, Cerasis, the day before a ceremony for parasites. Code 016, Hero, one of the parasite candidates, failed the final test and was disappointed. Hero goes into the forest, without going to the briefing session of the enlistment ceremony, to a lake and witnessed a strange girl swimming. Her name was Code 00202, and from her head, 2 glossy horns were growing. The squad is on a train to head for their startup ritual and reflect that Hero didn't show up. Suddenly, a Klaxosaur attack. The plantation begins firing at the Klaxosaur as it begins attacking the plantation. Hero survives getting killed and sees it is heading to where his friends are at, and he rushes to the location. As Strelitzia battles the Klaxosaur, it is thrown at the plantation and lands near Hero, nearly crushing him. 081 falls out of the cockpit, covered in blood, and slowly stops breathing. 02 hesitates when Hero perseveres about his determination to pilot. She relents and pulls him inside the cockpit. With Strelitzia fully activated, it effortlessly eliminates the Klaxosaur by removing and destroying its cores and saves the plantation, along with the parasites and others. When the battle is over, everyone sees 02 bring an unconscious Hero out of the cockpit. Despite being able to pilot Strelitzia with 002, Hero has no memories of what happened in the cockpit, leading some of his fellow pilots to be skeptical about what really happened, since it is rumored 02 is capable of piloting a Franxx on her own. Hero's fellow pilots are also wary of 02 due to her reputation, especially Ichigo, who is concerned about Hero's safety. Meanwhile, the leadership of APE decide to further test Hero's abilities and instruct him to participate in a mock Franxx battle, though he is forbidden from partnering with 02 or using Strelitzia. Ichigo volunteers to partner with him in Delphinium. Zoroark and Miku volunteer to be their opponents. During the mock battle, Hero is briefly able to connect with Ichigo and pilot Delphinium, but suddenly loses his connection with her and is unable to restart Delphinium. This breaks Hero's confidence in himself and leaves Ichigo frustrated that she can't do anything to help Hero. Following the mock battle, Hero's fellow pilots are assigned to their first sortie, with the task of defeating a Klaxosaur under the city, but as they are about to leave, Ikuno and Mitsuru's connection falters, thus the pilots of Delphinium, Argenta and Genista proceed without them. However, the situation turns to the worst when they end up surrounded by a horde of Klaxosaurs and are forced to flee. 02 asks to assist them on Strelitzia, but she is not allowed to sortie with Hero, until Mitsuru, determined to prove he is a better pilot than Hero, offers himself to pair up with 02. Together, Mitsuru and 02 defeat the enemies with ease and rescue the others, but when they return, they find a heavily wounded Mitsuru, as a consequence of pairing up with 002, who reaffirms her claim that Hero is the only pilot compatible with her. Mitsuru begins to recover, but it traumatized with his experience with 02. In fear of what happened in the last battle, 02 is called back by the authorities to return to the front lines. As 02 is escorted to a transport with Strelitzia, a Klaxosaur appears and attacks. The other pilots are dispatched to face it, but are overpowered by the enemy. Seeing 02 being taken away, Hero finally makes his mind and urges her not to leave and become his partner instead. 02 then disobeys her orders and boards Strelitzia with Hero, which he manages to successfully pilot. The two then help the others to defeat the Klaxosaur. Afterwards, Plantation 13 lifts off to rendezvous with Plantation 26, and Hero resolves that he will pilot Strelitzia with 02, even if it kills him. Plantation 13 links up with Plantation 26 in order to transfer much-needed magma fuel. However, the process is sure to attract Klaxosaurs, requiring the FRNXX pilots of both plantations to work together. Meanwhile, Hero becomes an accepted member of the squad, but Goro notices that Hero's health has been declining significantly, with a blue tumor-like growth growing on his chest ever since he rode with 02. Hero manages to convince Goro to keep quiet about his condition. Klaxosaurs are detected heading for the plantation and a plan to defend against them is made, though the pilots of Plantation 26 express their misgivings about 02 and Strelitzia being involved due to them suffering losses in a past mission due to 02's actions. That night, Ichigo confronts Zero Two in an attempt to convince her not to put too much of a burden on Hiro's body, but fails. Ichigo and Goro are then both left feeling frustrated over how neither of them can help Hiro. Hiro meets Zero Two the next morning, and despite her warning that this would be his third ride with her, which may result in his death, Hiro reaffirms his desire to ride with her. As the horde of Conrad-class Klaxosaurs, accompanied by a massive structure approach the plantations, the parasites make a line of defense with Squad 26 on the front, Squad 13 on the middle, and Strelitzia on the rear guard. After the minor Klaxosaurs are defeated, the structure reveals itself as a giant Gutenberg-class Klaxosaur that overpowers Squad 26. Squad 13 then rescues them and join for a combined attack to give an opening for Strelitzia to give the final blow. However, Strelitzia fails to destroy the enemy and Hiro collapses from exhaustion. He then accepts his death until seeing Zero Two fighting back desperately and decides to not give up, recovering from his tumor and joining with his companions to destroy the Gutenberg Klaxosaur. As the pilots celebrate, Dr. Franks rejoices upon the prospect that Hiro may one day realize Zero Two's wish. Zero Two, on the other hand, affirms that there are many more Klaxosaurs for her to kill in order to attain it. Due to their achievements in the previous battle, Zero Two is permanently assigned to Squad 13 and Hiro is officially recognized as a Fren XX pilot. Squad 13 is then rewarded with a vacation to a nearby beach. As Squad 13 plays around, they observe Hiro's relationship with Zero Two and begin wondering what exactly a kiss and love are. They then stumble upon the ruins of a town nearby and begin exploring them. They are perplexed at the existence of the town since they initially believed civilization only existed in the plantations. Zero Two explains to them that humans used to live on the surface but were forced to abandon it for the plantations. Later that night, Zero Two decides to go for a swim while Hiro and Ichigo walk on the beach and admire the stars, catching sight of a rain of shooting stars. The children of Plantation 13 receive presents from Papa. They have a custom of, once a year, asking for something they want and then Papa sending it to them. In each of their joy from receiving a present, Goro finds that Ichigo has a hair clip. But this hair clip is one that Goro couldn't give to Ichigo when they were young. This time, they are attacked by a Klaxosaur. In the middle of battle, Delphinium is swallowed by the Klaxosaur. Though Goro ejects Ichigo, he is left alone in the cockpit. Ichigo quite angry about this. The squad managed to find a way to put her into that Klaxosaur. Goro is running out of air, but Ichigo find him and they destroy Klaxosaur from the inside. The members of the 13th plantation are rewarded for their many recent successes in battle. An award ceremony is held where they are to be given medals, lauded in front of an enormous audience in an even more amazingly enormous auditorium taking place in the city. The children are ecstatic, as it will be their first trip, outside of battle missions that is, to the city which they protect. On the day of the ceremony, the mayor of Plantation 13 personally encourages the children. Hiro hears them bickering and laughs before looking at Zero Two's window. She looks at herself in the mirror and sees that her teeth have become fangs. An unusual phenomenon begins within Zero Two's body. She seems mentally unstable, and under its influence Zero Two begins to expose hostility, shouting at herself more than ever. Even the words of Hiro, her partner, seems even out of reach. In the middle of such a fight, Hiro connects deeply with the consciousness of Zero Two and catches a glimpse of the memory that flows from there. It was a memory of their childhood. Hiro remembers that they had once met when she was nameless beyond a number, designating her as a test object and unable to speak. As a result of continuing as Zero Two's partner, Hiro's body undergoes a major mutation. As a result, Hiro temporarily falls into an unconscious state. Ichigo knew that Hiro's mutation was caused by Zero Two and pulled her away from Hiro. In response to the situation, a notice from APE headquarters was issued to return Zero Two to the Nines, who are directly controlled by APE. Hiro and Zero Two wish to talk to each other again, but the time that they cannot meet each other continues. After Zero Two is sent away from Mistiltine, Plantation 13 were to take part in a strategy to control the big base of the Klaxosaurs called Grand Crevasse. If they can capture this base, the long fight against Klaxosaurs will turn to dominance at once. It is an important strategy for AP. Many other plantations, as well as numerous FRANXX troops belonging to them, are also put into battle. Among them was Strelitzia, fighting with Nines. Meanwhile, Hero, who was separated from his partner, was left by his squad mates in Plantation 13, who sent out Squad 13 to fight. Hero tries to connect with 02, but he gets no response. He holds her horns and asks to be taken to her. 02's horns break and Hero hugs her. Hero says they can see the world together and kisses 02 as she cries. Strelitzia attacks and transforms into a red version of it, easily taking out the Klaxosaur. Hero and 02 confess their love for each other. Inside the mountain Klaxosaur, they find that its core is a collective mass of cores. A large Klaxosaur hand suddenly shoots up from the ground. It smashes a majority of Plantation 13, leaving Mistiltine in ruins. It is about a month since the fierce battle at Grand Crevasse. Though Cerasis was destroyed, Mistiltine miraculously escaped destruction and its parasites were ordered to wait there. However, since then, there has been no communication from the adults, and they are unable to contact their supervisors, Hachi and Nana. In Mistiltine, the function of maintaining the environment causes problems, making it impossible for them to live comfortably like the past. Even in such a situation, the children begin devising their own plans in their everyday life, including 02, who begins to bond with the other parasites. Hero suggests opening a wedding ceremony for Mitsuru and Kokoro as the last memories to be made while staying in Mistiltine. The ceremony, the dress, the rings. Everything is handmade and they prepare to the extent that they can. That day, the cherry blossoms in Mistiltine were in full bloom when the children's wedding ceremony began. Instructions come from the caretakers who avoided contact with the children for the first time in a month. When the next supply ship comes, Squad 13 is to abandon Mistiltine and move to the APE parasite facility called the Bird Nest. Dr. Franks, when informed of the Lamarck Club's brutal actions towards Squad 13, recalled how he was invited to APE in 2025. That time, Dr. Franks was still known as Werner. A clean and universal energy source known as magma energy had been excavated by APE. Thanks to APE's findings, human beings undertook full-scale research on immortality and even Werner participated in it. However, in 2037, with the sudden appearance of unknown beings called Klaxosaurs from underground, the human race entered the era of suffering. With much sacrifice, the Grand Crevasse was successfully captured. In the basement, a Klaxosaur megaweapon called Star Entity slept. If humanity could start it, it would be possible to put an end to the long fight with the Klaxosaurs. There was no way the Klaxosaur princess could accept that, so she tried to crush the Grand Crevasse with full strength. While Dr. Fran searches for her, APE gives orders against Hero and 02. Hero declares that Squad 13 will no longer follow Papa's instructions after this battle. Strelitzia gets hijacked by the Klaxosaur princess. With this key, Star Entity starts up under her control. Suddenly, a mysterious creature is seen in the sky from the battlefield of humans and Klaxosaurs. Papa's true form, Varum, is revealed to be the true enemy. It is also revealed that the Klaxosaurs were painted as the enemies so they would be killed off. Varum attacks both humans and Klaxosaurs. Meanwhile, 02, thrown out of Strelitzia, hears about Dr. Fran's shocking relationship between himself and the Klaxosaur princess. The fight between humans and the Klaxosaurs was over. In order to fight off Varum, the true enemy, the Klaxosaurs left the ground one after another and went up into space. Among them was Strelitzia Apis, which no one was riding. The surviving parasites started a new life. Even though they were being thrown into a harsh environment, they survived without relying on the adults. Meanwhile, Hero tended to 02, who seemingly became empty after the battle. Hero wants to reunite with 02, who is mentally connected to Strelitzia Apis and travels to space with other parasites. The ship's fleet gathers in Mars airspace. There is a fierce and massive battle that is too large to compare with what was done on the ground by the ship's fleet and Varum. But they still fight. On Earth, 02 smiles and her body turns into stone. Strelitzia evolves into the Strelitzia True Apis and eliminates the Varum fleets. Two satellites emerge from nearby rocks and create a warp gate. She and Hiro decide to enter the warp hole and leave the solar system, continue fighting. Hiro and Zero Two, after separating from their squad mates, travel to the end of the universe with Strelitzia True Apis to settle it once and for all with Varum. Continuing to fly in just dark space is like nothing else. The journey that seems like forever eventually makes Hiro lose his sense of time. At the end of the war, they sacrifice themselves to destroy all Vern. Their soul come back to Earth. Zero Two's statue breaks and turns into ashes, leaving behind a single plant. On the other hand, on Earth, the parasites who returned from space started living their own lives. They reconstructed Mistiltine, awakened the comatose children, and witnessed the birth of a new life. While they encountered separation time and again, they took it day by day, trying to become adults they wished to be. Time passes, and the cherry tree grows. 1,000 years later, a child resembling Hiro in hair color sits under the tree. A girl who looks like Zero Two in terms of hair color runs past him and trips. As the boy helps the girl up, they introduce themselves, symbolizing the beginning of a new story.